All right, guys. So I watched Creature Commandos episode 4. This is the Weasel episode. It seems like every episode is focusing on a character. This time they focused on Weasel. And I thought this was another great episode. I will say, it's like, I think I am definitely getting to the point where I'm like, I wish they had dropped these all on the same day. I don't know. Like, I get it. It is better for ratings and stuff when you do week to week episodes because each week it builds up hype, yada yada yada. But as a viewer, like, and I guess this is also a good sign of the show. I like every week I'm like, oh, I wish I want to keep going. like because while they do a good job of each week giving you the backstory of a character, I just wanting to get going with like the actual plot of the present day of like, okay, what's going on with the princess? What's the evil scheme? What's going on here? But at the end of the day, it's still a good show. And I mean, obviously, if I really wanted to, I could just not watch week to week and wait until all the episodes drop and then binge them. But I'm a YouTube man. I'm doing my YouTube things and I'm reviewing each episode. So that's what we're doing. So let's get into it. I gotta say, I find the relationships in this show to be really interesting. Like, obviously, the bride and Frankenstein, they have, like, their own weird relationship. But also, Rick Flag Sr. and the princess, it's like this weird, like, toxic relationship where it initially began with her, like, imposing herself onto him, even though he's not quite reciprocating, and then you get into it now at the beginning of this episode, and it's like she's clearly way more into him than he is into her, and that's just weird and awkward. So I like the weird relationship dynamics that they're presenting in this show. It's like they're all just like really messy and ugly and and just weird. Another thing that I noticed was that G.I. Robot is still in the opening credits. Now, does that necessarily mean that he's going to come back? No, but I'm thinking that there's a good possibility that they bring him back. I mean, again, he is a robot. Like I feel like it honestly wouldn't even take much convincing to make us believe that he would just come back. So I suspect that they're going to go ahead and do that. But we'll see. We'll see. I just noticed he was still in the credits. Doesn't necessarily mean anything. Then we got John Economos. He's back in here as well. I really liked him in the Suicide Squad and especially in Peacemaker. And yeah, I really like this character. He also references the alien invasion in Peacemaker Season 1. And just a refresher for people that still don't really understand how the DCU canon works. I'm not going to pretend that I entirely understand it either because James Gunn has not been very clear when explaining it. But from what I understand, this is how I've interpreted it. Basically, nothing in the DCEU is necessarily canon, right? Like from Creature Commandos moving forward, anything that happened before Creature Commandos in the DCEU, you can essentially like push it to the side. However, when the DCU references something in the DCEU, at that point, whatever event that is, that now does become, like, that is something that now happened in the DCU. So, for example, Rick Flag Sr. mentions his son dying. We know now that Rick Flag did die in the DCU. Did it happen exactly like it happened in the Suicide Squad where Peacemaker killed him? Well, probably, because Peacemaker Season 2 is going to be getting into that, so we can kind of take that as a fact. That Peacemaker killed Rick Flag's son, or Rick Flag Sr.'s son, Rick Flag. However, does that necessarily mean that the rest of the Suicide Squad is canon? Well, no. That does not necessarily mean that Harley Quinn was there, or Deadshot was there, or not, whatever the fucking Idris Elba character. That does not necessarily mean that that is also canon. So when John Economos mentions the alien invasion, that means that he was a part of some kind of alien invasion team. Does that necessarily mean that the rest of Peacemaker is canon? Not necessarily. Does in fact we probably know for a fact that that shot of the Justice League and the Flash and Aquaman, like that whole interaction, that's definitely not going to be canon because those characters are going to be different and recast probably. So yeah, kind of messy, but that's the way that I've understood how their canon is going to work. So we'll obviously be getting into that way more into the future as more things get confirmed or not confirmed. So we'll see. Yeah, then we also get a little update on Frankenstein. I gotta say, man, I'm really loving David Harbour's performance here. Like this is obviously a horrible character, right? He's just like endlessly stalking this woman. But David Harbour still manages to put in just this really kind of heartfelt performance into it. Like, you kind of feel bad for Frankenstein in some way because he's seeking love. Obviously, he's going about it in a horrible way. But it's like his performance just kind of draws you in a really interesting way. So really like seeing Frankenstein here. I like how Weasel has like a lawyer that sees him as like she sees it like a civil like a civil rights issue, not civil rights, but you know what I mean. Like she's like dedicated because she sees him as like a cause to fight for. I don't like it is weird though because she insists that Weasel is a man, and it's like. Now, obviously, we learn in this episode that Weasel is like an innocent character, but it's like, if anything, Weasel is more like a dog that's being abused. I wouldn't call him a man. Like, again, sympathetic character. Obviously, the government is mistreating him, but he's not. He's an animal. He's not a man. But yeah, I thought that that all the interactions with Weasel's lawyer, with Rick Flag, and with Economos were all really funny. Yeah, one of the best scenes in the episode was definitely Amanda Waller interrogating Cersei. Man, like, I liked Amanda Waller in the first Suicide Squad movie. Like, Viola Davis was good in that film, but there's something about the way that that James Gunn directs her that just feels really cool and badass. Like, I loved how dead inside, how like she was almost like this fucking husk of a person in the Suicide Squad. Like, I really loved that performance. And then here in Creature Commandos, I really like how like kind of like in her element she feels. And she's like kind of sassy. She had a little Samuel L. Jackson in her in her performance in this episode. I liked it. So yeah, I really liked her interrogating Cersei. And then it ends up leading to Cersei having this vision of the future where we find out that that Cersei is omnipotent and she sees like a future where the princess is like evil. She seems to have some kind of scar. Not sure what's going on here. We see that she's like has like Gorilla Grodd as like a lieutenant or something. With it's like this post-apocalyptic vision where like the Metropolis is under attack. We see the Daily Planet. James Gunn not afraid of killing children or babies, which is pretty crazy. We also see like the heroes. They're like on pikes. So here we get technically our first look at Wonder Woman. And then Hawk Girl is here as well. Supergirl is on the left-hand side. I think that might be Robin on the right. I don't know if it would be like Damian Wayne or if this version of, because we know Damian Wayne is going to be in Brave and the Bold. It might also be some other version of Robin. I can't tell if the guy in the back is anybody that we should be recognizing, but yeah, interesting. So what's also interesting about seeing Wonder Woman here is that based on what we've heard about Themyscira and Creature Commandos, it seems like the DCU has not been introduced to Wonder Woman yet. So, yeah, that's interesting. So we're getting a future vision of Wonder Woman. However, Wonder Woman is still not yet known in the DCU. At least I don't think she is. Based on the way that they've talked about Themyscira, how people aren't even sure that the island exists. So I would just go ahead and assume that Wonder Woman isn't known. We also get a shot of Peacemaker dead here. His like leg is chopped off. Uh, we get a look at Batman. This is technically our first look at Batman in the DCU, although obviously they're not necessarily showing us his costume. I think that's probably purposeful. We just see the cowl, but so cool that we see Batman, although can't really glean anything here, to be honest with you. I think that's Vigilante as well. He's on a pike, which is kind of fun. Can't tell if that's anybody in the back that we're supposed to recognize. And then here we see Superman on a cross. You know, I don't know that this necessarily looks like David Cornsweat, but I think that's probably the same S. I think. And then we also he has the trunks on, like we saw David Cornsweat with the trunks on in the trailer. And that's Starfire on the left there. So, you know, I don't know if this indicates to us that we're gonna see Starfire at some point. Well, actually, yeah. You know what? They're writing a Teen Titans movie. The screenwriter of Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, Anna Nagor, I think her name is. Yeah, it was reported that she's going to be writing a Teen Titans movie as well. So, actually, now that I think about it, yeah, we probably are going to see Starfire in that. But yeah. And the other interesting thing about the Vision is that it cuts away to then Cersei crying. So, like, she seems genuine. There was also another character that came in that was basically saying that, like, she's like an expert on Themyscira or whatever. Basically saying that Cersei isn't known to be able to like make up visions. Like, she's not able to control it. Like, her visions are just straight up as a clairvoyant would be. So they're kind of like insisting that this vision is real. However, I mean, she could be lying. Like, Rick Flag even brings up like what does an expert in Themyscira even mean when we don't know anything about Themyscira? So, I mean, it seems like Cersei is being honest here, and I think that would be an interesting twist to make the princess the ultimate villain of this. I know there are tons of rumors of. Or not rumors, but theories that Clayface, because we saw Clayface in the trailer, that Clayface was going to end up being, sorry, what am I saying? That the princess that we've seen is actually Clayface playing her as a character in order to fool people. And that would actually make sense, considering that we just saw the princess with a scar on her face. Like, what if that's the real princess and she's like hiding away somewhere? And Rick Flag... fuck Clayface. That's a possibility. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see where that goes. I like the scene in the prison where the bride is defending Nina from this weird ape guy. Not Gorilla Grodd, but just another ape. Obviously very brutal. But I liked seeing bride defend Nina. That was cute. We get Rick Flag and Frankenstein meeting up. I thought this was another great scene. Really cool fight scene. It kind of seemed like they weren't like it seemed a little contrived that Frankenstein wouldn't just kill Rick Flag immediately. I feel like there were a ton of moments where it's like where Frankenstein could have just like punched his head off, but he just didn't for the sake of the plot. So that is a little thing that kind of, you know, I noticed it. But yeah, now they're like teamed up, and Frankenstein was like he was very, very funny in this scene with all his like references and like all of the like the emotionality of him and him describing the bride and all of that. Again, it's just a really interesting character that David Harbour has created here for himself. And yeah, and I like the little scene on the plane where like the bride and Nina are very much becoming friends, and they're joking around with each other. Weasel is acting more and more like a dog in this scene, right? Like, the episode ends with Nina petting him, which I thought was cute. And but yeah, that definitely like the heart, or like not the heart, but like, well, kind of the heart. But the highlight of the episode is for sure Weasel's backstory and the fact that he didn't actually murder like the 27 children that I think Rick Flag said in the Suicide Squad. And it was actually kind of a well done reveal, because they just said that Weasel murdered all those children in the Suicide Squad, and so that's just kind of like imprinted in our minds. But we've never actually seen Weasel do anything horrific, right? Like he's just kind of like been himself, running around and being weird. And yeah, and then we get the reveal that no, he was framed, right? He was actually just friends with those kids, and then everything, like the guy saw them, and he went in there to stop Weasel, but then he accidentally burned the school down, and then because the police were trying to apprehend him, like they caused that last girl to die. Although it is the one thing about that scene is that Weasel has the girl in his mouth, and he's trying to like save her by taking her out of the burning building. I feel like the police wouldn't shoot at Weasel when he has the girl, or I don't know, maybe they would in a situation like that, because maybe like if they're like, I don't know, if the police see like a pit bull mauling a child, would they shoot at the dog even if as he has the child in his mouth? Maybe they would, because they can't just like sit there and let the dog maul a child. So I don't know. Maybe they would have shot at Weasel even though he had the girl in his mouth. I'm not sure. I'm not a police officer. So any police officers watching, let me know in the comments down below if that was unbelievable to you that that the police would do that. But yeah, James Gunn went hard in this one. It's like he just straight up killed kids. Which is like, Jesus. Very brutal, very sad, and yeah, kind of unfortunate because Weasel can't talk, so he can't actually give his side of the story. Although it seems like Nina and the bride are probably gonna overlook that and make friends with him, so that's nice at least, isn't it? But yeah, let me know what you thought of this episode in the comments down below. Also, so I will say this one thing. I've been avoiding watching like the promos for the following episodes. However, apparently they showed the vision of Cersei, the vision that Cersei had in the promo for last week's episode, because I actually have seen a lot of those images on Twitter, and I've seen people talking about it on Twitter. Guys, stop showing things like that in the promos, because it's like I don't want to see it, and I don't want to see people talking about it. So that was kind of annoying because I had already seen the visions in last week's promo, and I've also seen people talking about how the 4th episode is the Weasel episode, so it's like I kind of knew that as well. I guess I just need to stop consuming so much like press coverage so that I can be surprised by media. But yeah, either way, let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.